That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, Ted, thanks for being willing to listen to my policy today. So this policy is meant, there's three policies and they're meant to address one problem. And the problem is in the state of Idaho. In a recent study, it was found that Idahoans value jobs, education, and the economy the most. And yet Idaho is one of those states that lags far behind the national average in terms of higher education enrollment, especially we're at 38%. And then especially among at-risk, like Hispanic students, which are only at 29% enrollment. And so this is one of those things that is hurting us in terms of jobs, our education, but also our economic success here in the state of Idaho is this lack of higher education and qualifications. In 1965, with the Higher Education Act, Congress wanted to enable people to attend college more. And so they had this act, but since that time, the cost of education has only increased exponentially to where now the average cost of attendance at a higher education institute is $34,000 a year, which is a lot of money. It's especially difficult for Idahoans where our minimum wage is such that it's substantially lower than other states. So this might be something that precludes a lot of Idahoans from attending college. So to try to mitigate this concern, it's difficult to really overcome this in one fell swoop. But to mitigate this, I propose three different policies. One would suggest that in order to help Idahoans, take advantage of higher education, maybe we could offer free education. And while that would be ideal, it's not feasible financially for the state of Idaho. Rather, what I'm proposing has to do with textbooks and reducing the cost of textbooks. So my first proposal, and I think is probably the best as far as minimally viable proposal, is to put a cap on textbooks for public institutions, put a cap on the dollar amount of textbook per course at $75. Now, in the state of Ohio, they tried this as well. They tried it at $300 a year, and that was largely rebuffed by the public institutions of Ohio, namely the Ohio State University. And so this is kind of a step back from that, where really I think anything over $75, you're really asking that faculty member to reconsider the type of resource they're using. Number two is very similar. It's actually asking faculty to do their due diligence to make sure that the textbooks they're using offer the highest educational yield, but also at the lowest possible cost, if not an open education resource. And then finally, the third policy would be to enact an open education resource consortium among the public higher education institutions, and to put in place a policy that 50% of the textbooks that are used at public institutions are actually free open education resources. Now, number two might be difficult because some faculty might think that legislators are trying to get in the way between them and their students. And faculty can always be a tough sell. And they're probably one of the primary stakeholders in the whole thing. And number three is even a tougher sell because it would cost a lot of money to do that. And again, with a very fiscally conservative state like the state of Idaho, that's probably not the most viable option. But I think one that would be minimally invasive, again, is policy number one, just capping per course $75 textbook policy. And long terms evaluating the effects of that. And if we're seeing with something just minimally trying to reduce the cost of education, are we able to see that more Idahoans are taking advantage of higher education? Are they enrolling more? Are they persisting in their college education more? And graduating and gaining gainful employment. And if we see that there are some strong correlations in that direction, then really that helps the state of Idaho get what it wants, really. And that's better jobs, better education, and more economic. Now, there's a couple of stakeholders. Publishers are a stakeholder in this. Legislatures, faculty, university administrators. And this might be difficult for some of them, especially publishers would probably be really resistant to this. University administrators and faculty would probably also be a little bit hesitant. But the students and their parents stand to directly gain from this. And if we can see that the students are gaining from this and this is helping them to get a better education, I think university administrators and faculty will follow suit. So again, coming back to this whole thing, I think the bottom line is, with something as minimal as this policy, can it help to lessen the cost of college education? Can that help to increase our enrollment among Idahoans, especially at-risk, Hispanic student population? If so, I think that helps us hit the bottom line of people graduating at a higher rate, people getting better jobs, and becoming boons to the economy. Okay, thank you. All right. I guess that's it then.